I think we're ready to get started now. So again, welcome everyone. We are so glad that you joined us this evening, or I guess early evening for those of you on the West Coast. My name is Diana Dabdoob. I am the Senior Director for Admissions and Recruitment Affairs at the American Association of Veterinary Medical Colleges, also known as AAVMC. Joining me this evening is Megan Woods. She is our Associate Director for Application Services, who will be helping us this evening by monitoring the chat throughout the webinar. So before we jump in, we want to get to know you just a little bit better. So if you can tell us in the chat what grade you're in or your favorite animal or both, please do so. There are no wrong answers here. Megan and I just want to get a better sense of who you are, and I'm sure to help with our speaker that's here this evening as well. So go ahead and take a few seconds to put in what your grade is and what your favorite animal is. Oh, great. I see 8th grade, 9th grade, 11th grade, lots of high school. Wonderful. Dogs, horses. Okay. I'm trying to catch them. They're going so fast. Fantastic. I saw 11-year-olds. Like, okay, great. So it seems like a lot of high school students, smattering maybe of some younger students. The chat is going really, really fast, but fantastic. So today's webinar is a fireside chat, a journey to veterinary school, insights from a current student. So you'll hear directly from a veterinary student who will share their personal journey, experiences that mattered most, as well as how they prepared for veterinary school and what a typical day looks like, and also sharing some advice about things they wish they would have known earlier. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, so a link to the recording and a PDF of the slides will be available to you sent out by HOSA staff. And please feel free to post questions in the Q&A, like questions for the speaker. If you want to just kind of chat with us, you can use the chat, but we'll be monitoring both. So there are no bad questions. We want to encourage you to be curious, right? To ask the questions around, what it's like to be going into veterinary medicine, what it's like to be a student, and we'll also leave plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. So now I'm really excited to introduce our speaker. So please join me in welcoming Alyssa Heath. She is a fourth-year student at Mississippi State University. So Alyssa, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can share a little bit about yourself, how you decided to pursue veterinary medicine. So go ahead, Alyssa. I'll turn it over to you now. Thanks.
Alrighty. Okay. Are my slides up? Yes. Okay, awesome.
We can see them.
Okay, perfect. Um, so my name is Alyssa Heath. I am a fourth year DVM, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine candidate at Mississippi State University's College of Veterinary Medicine. And so a little bit more about myself. I am originally from a small town called Petal, Mississippi. It's South Mississippi for anyone that has any inkling of idea about Mississippi. But I graduated from high school back in 2018, and I got my bachelor's of science in microbiology from Mississippi State University in December of 2021. Um, and postgraduate plans, I'll be starting an anatomic pathology residency, which is a 3-year residency program after I graduate with my DVM in May 12th. Very excited. Uh, a little bit more about me, just some of my hobbies. I love to read, I love to run, and I love to write, journal, kind of creative writing, that kind of thing. So that's just a little bit about me. So, how did I decide that I wanted to go into veterinary medicine? I included a picture here on the right. This is me at 17 on one of my first visits to Mississippi State's College of Veterinary Medicine. I was on a college tour and I begged my parents to go to the vet school just to kind of see, what it looked like and to meet some of the people and just to, see what it was all about. And yeah, it's just a great picture that I love to keep as a memory for me. But I have a different kind of path compared to maybe some of the stories that you've heard about people that decided to pursue veterinary medicine. I did not grow up with any pets in my house. I did not grow up with any family that are veterinarians. Nobody in my family is even anywhere in the healthcare field. So I'm kind of I'm kind of the black sheep of the family, no pun intended. Um, And I started my interest during allied health course. And so that's like our health sciences course at my high school. Um, and this class is about going to shadow different healthcare professions. So we got to go work with or shadow nurses, occupational therapists, physical therapists, veterinarians, doctors, all of that, just to kind of see, um, if a healthcare is what we want to go into for our careers, and to get actual like hands-on experience, really see the good, the bad, the ugly of being in whatever profession. And through this course, or through my 2 years as my junior and senior year of high school, um, I shadowed at a small animal general practice in my hometown. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I had so much fun. I was able to take 3 days a week and go shadow for a couple of hours after school every day just to, get my experience. And then eventually I was offered a job as a kennel technician. So I was able to work in the back and run the kennels. So I would take dogs out to the bathroom and, feed them all the housekeeping things. But it gave me great experience because on, the hours or the times that I would get done with that early, I was able to go look into the operating room, see what they were doing, what kind of surgeries are you guys looking at? What kind of medicine cases are you seeing? And so it was a really great experience. Um, and then also, I did lots of research on my own. I'm trying to figure out if this is a career that I wanted to go into. Um, I'm a pretty self-driven person, so I really wanted to know what does it look like starting in high school? What kind of things are they looking for? Um, as they're looking at applicants for veterinary school, what kind of like classes should I be interested in college, or what kind of extracurriculars or leadership positions do they really like, or like to see in applicants. So I did a lot of research on my own, especially since, like I said, none of my family is any healthcare related profession. So I was kind of on my own on this one. But with all of that, I decided to pursue a bachelor's in microbiology. And that definitely links to my interest in veterinary medicine now. Microbiology is a lot about diseases, and I really enjoy learning about disease and how it originates, how it interacts with the body. And particularly, I love the interaction of animal and human diseases. So, microbiology was definitely the place for me to go. So, I
Alyssa,
took,
sorry,
oh,
just
yes.
your sound sounds a little muffled. You kind of are
Okay,
coming in and out, but just wanted to give you a heads up about that.
let me see if I can. Uh,
Is that better?
Speak again.
Is that any better?
Yes, yes, that is really good.
Is that any better?
Yep,
Oh,
that
is
sounds
that
good.
one better? That's better.
Yes, that was better.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Um, okay. Still good. I'm
Yes,
messing around with the settings on the Zoom. Okay. So continuing on, so as I do a bachelor's in microbiology, and I took this screenshot straight from the website of Mississippi State. Kind of just wanted to show you what kind of courses it takes. So there's a heavy background in biology, chemistry, and physics, which you'll see with pretty much any biological sciences degree. Um, it is kind of different depending on if this is, a degree you're interested in, or a lot of schools will have like an animal and dairy sciences is what we call it here at Mississippi State, some sort of, animal heavy focused kind of major. But for me, I really wanted to do disease and biology and all the really nerdy stuff. So I love, to pick my degree based off of that. But there's definitely different pathways that you can do it in. It's really just about your interests, and picking classes and picking a major that you could, really enjoy and also see yourself using, whether or not you decide to pursue veterinary medicine or another healthcare career. So I would definitely implore you to think about that way too. So as you can see, I did a lot of biological sciences classes. I also had to take the very scary chemistries chemistry 1 and 2, organic chemistry, organic 1 and 2, and then I also had to have biochemistry and physics. And then for every bachelor's degree, you'll usually have some traditional requirements of like an Englishes, public speaking, foreign languages, those kinds of things, which back in my day, we didn't always have like, the dual credit that you can do through community colleges, which I think is a great opportunity to go ahead and start learning or doing those classes then. Um, but yeah, that's really what my bachelor's degree was and what it required, and I think it really set me up well for the future in the classes that I have been taking in veterinary school. I included some just like a screenshots of my years in college, and just wanted to share some of the things that I did outside of veterinary medicine that really helped me with my application. Um, so I was on the dance team. At my undergrad institution. So I was a student athlete, which was a full-time job essentially. I also taught dance camps in my summertime, and I was able to teach dance camps to high school students, and that was really fun. I was in Greek life. I also was able to, during like my summers and on my like holiday breaks, I really aimed to get more experience, whether that was animal experience or veterinary experience. And I really wanted to try and get different species other than what I'd already seen. So like I mentioned before, I did small animal GP or small animal general practice. But I wanted to try and get out of my comfort zone and work with some exotic animals. You can see I'm hanging out with some lemurs in this one picture, and then I have this really huge snake on my shoulders in this other picture. And that's, always great experience, and something that they, look for is the diversity of your experience when you're applying. Um, Excuse me. I also wanted to include some pictures of my research experience. So I did several summers of research. I did a research internship, and I also did research at my undergraduate institution from my junior to senior year. I think research is a really great experience for anyone looking to go into any medical field. I think it's a great way to look at the scientific method, and you're really training your brain to work in a different way than what you would see in just regular coursework. So I highly recommend looking for, a summer to do research or a project that you can jump on in with one of your professors, which is what I did. One of my professors that taught one of my classes that I really loved asked if I could be in her lab, and she let me. Um, and so I learned a lot just, from those summers and from that time doing research. And then lastly, I just included a picture of another organization that I was able to do my senior year of undergrad. It's called New Maroon Camp. It is basically a orientation camp for freshmen and transfer students at my undergraduate institution. And I had a really great time. I got to meet so many cool people. And it's really about growing those leadership skills, growing those interpersonal skills, um, and welcoming them to college. So fast forward, I got accepted into vet school. So I originally applied to 3 veterinary schools. I withdrew my application from one of those schools before the interview process had started, and then the other two colleges I was accepted into, and I chose to stay at Mississippi State for my DVM as well. And so I wanted to include what our first and second year schedules look like in terms of like classes and everything. And I am going to take the moment to brag on our program that we have a very unique curriculum and that we get 2 years of classroom or didactic learning and then 2 years of clinical rotations. You'll see or notice in the future that It kind of varies from school to school, but traditionally, a lot of other programs within the AVMA, which is the American Veterinary Medical Association, it's like the governing body for all of our colleges of veterinary medicine. A lot of the schools that are accredited by that organization have 3-in-1 programs. So it's typically 3 years of classroom learning and 1 year of clinical rotations. I think it really, is a really great opportunity to have more hands-on experience with having the 2-in-2. So it's something that I'm very proud of. And I like to talk about whenever I, talk to applicants or, students. Um, so in the first year, we're really doing a lot of the science courses, the not basic science courses, but kind of the building the foundation to grow into what actual medicine is like. So as you can see, we're basically in class all day, every day, minus the Wednesday afternoon break from about 8 to 5. Um, and we took classes such as immunology, physiology, histology, professional development is kind of our lectures about topics that can range anywhere from how to handle euthanasias to um, difficult clients or student debt or internships after graduating with your DVM. It's a very wide range of topics to talk about because you're not only starting this career as a veterinarian, but as a veterinarian, you are the leader of your organization, of your clinic, and you also have the opportunity to become a business owner on top of that too. So there's a lot to cover in a professional sense. So we have 4 semesters of that class. In the afternoons, it was typically reserved for labs. So we had anatomy lab. So we're, learning all the anatomy for specifically dogs, cats, horses, and cows. Um, and then we also had histology laboratory, which histology is the study of tissues. Um, and then in second year is where it really picks up. Our second year is kind of notorious for being our most difficult year of the curriculum. So we start doing a lot of our medicine courses in our second year. So here you can see we did equine medicine and surgery. We had SAMS, which is small animal medicine and surgery. We have food animal medicine and surgery. We have diagnostic imaging, which is like radiology or x-rays, how to read x-rays, how to take x-rays. If you see this on an x-ray, what kind of disease or problem are you thinking about? Um, we also had special species courses, which is kind of your lab animals. So that would be like your rats, your mice, your rabbits, and then also like your aquatic species as well, all of your fish, your dolphins, and your stingrays. Um, and what is also special about our curriculum is that we start doing spays and neuters in our second year of the curriculum. And so by the end of my second year, I'd already spayed and neutered a dog by myself, which was really, really amazing. But that's what you can see in the kind of the afternoons for the Tuesday and Wednesday portion. That's when we would be in surgery. And so I included some pictures of those. So on the bottom left, that was our lab coat ceremony. And so that was just before our first day of classes of first year. That was, we got our lab coats to welcome us into the profession of veterinary medicine, as well as taking the veterinarian's oath. We had our families get to come and have this big celebration, basically, of just rewarding us for all of our hard work and, overcoming getting into vet school. So it was really awesome. And then the top right picture, that's my surgery group, my sophomore surgery group. So there's 3 of us per group, and one person is the surgeon, another person is the assistant surgeon, and then the last person is the anesthetist. So they're running the anesthesia of the procedure. So making sure that the dog, is not feeling any pain or anything and is not awake while we're trying to actively work on it. So we kind of rotate through those positions throughout the year. And so you get the opportunity to do every single position twice. So So it's really great experience. And then for third and fourth year, so like I mentioned before, we start doing clinical rotations in our third and fourth year. In our third year, we have required rotations at our animal health center, which is like our teaching hospital. And it's also its own 24/7, 365 animal clinic. We have an emergency service. We have emergency for small and large animals. So dogs, cats, horses, cows, sheep, goats, anything. And then we also have all of our specialty areas. So internal medicine, small animal surgery, oncology, dermatology, really anything under the rainbow. So third year is a lot of those required ones. And then our fourth year gets a little you get a little bit more leeway with your time, and they really encourage us to do a lot of externships or going to different veterinary clinics or veterinary schools to get more training or more time in the area of interest that we want to pursue after we finish our DVM. So for example, for me, a lot of my externship time I spent going to other veterinary schools and working with their pathology departments. And so I had about, I want to say 8 weeks to do that. So you get a good bit of time to do that. And there's also time for job interviews. And then a really important period of time that we get to take off is to study for our NAVLE, which is the North American Veterinary Licensing Exam. That is the exam that we have to take at the very end of our curriculum to be able to be practiced or be able to be licensed to practice. Um, it's a really big deal because uh, you're getting questions. It's an 8-hour exam, and you get questions about every species. I had a question about a kangaroo on mine, which is pretty crazy because I mean, who gets to see kangaroos a lot? But I included some more pictures of kind of my clinical experience here. Um, on the very left, the bottom, that's one of my surgery patients. Um, I was responsible as a student for not only standing in surgery and helping the surgeons. I was responsible for a lot of the caretaking of my patient. She had bilateral femur fractures, and it took 5 hours to pin those back together. It was really amazing. But I was helping her walk, I was changing her bandages and massaging her legs, making sure she's getting all of her medications correctly. But it's a really rewarding experience at the end to, watch them walk out of the hospital and go home to their parents. So, um, in the bottom middle, I have a picture of us at the dairy because we have our own dairy cows here at Mississippi State because we make our own cheese and milk here. And we were going to check on the dairy cows. Um, and then I have a picture from our internal medicine service. And then also a picture from our neurology service with my classmates. And we usually just take a picture at the very end of the rotation, just kind of, commemorate and celebrate that we made it through another rotation altogether. So, and then lastly, I included a picture of my passing grade from my NAVLE, which is really exciting. Um, I took it in October and I got my results back in December. So it's definitely a weight lifted off my shoulders to have passed that. Um, that's really all I have as in my journey. I forgot to mention that I do have one pet now, even though I grew up with no pets before. I have my cat here who had to make his way in, um, that I got from a shelter here in Starkville. But I would love to answer or start the Q&A process here or answer any questions. We also have included the contacts for the AAVMC. And then also I've included my own email as well. You're more than welcome to reach out to me about, any questions that you have.
Well, thank you so much, Alyssa. Before we get started with opening the questions for the participants, I do have a few questions for you that I think now that we've gotten to learn a little bit more about you, that might be helpful for those in attendance. So, most of the students here that I saw when we asked the original question were majority, I think, high school students. So maybe, Alyssa, if you could share what you did to be maybe a more competitive candidate. So, as these students are going to be thinking about undergraduate education, what are some things that they should be looking for or thinking about in terms of their preparation to apply to veterinary school in the future?
I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult time trying to get the audio from my computer.
Oh, okay.
So
Can you
I'm
hear me?
sorry, 1 second.
No, no, no worries. Can you hear me now or not yet?
There we go. Woo!
Okay. Okay. I'll repeat what I said. So the majority of the students, when we ask them the question about, what year they were in, are mostly high school students that are
Hmm.
in attendance this evening. And so I was asking if you could share what you did or maybe some advice for those students that are going to be thinking about going into, undergraduate education, what they could be doing to prepare to be a more competitive candidate.
I think to think about in high school, um, what they really look for in terms of veterinary applications is we do a holistic approach to our veterinary applications. Most schools do. They're not only looking at GPA, but they want to see your level of involvement. What kind of extracurriculars did you do? What's your kind of leadership positions were you taking? And I know for the VMCAS, which is our application service, so that the application that you put in for every school, they ask you to also include some of your high school experiences as well. So I think it's important to kind of find something that you're really interested in, whether that's prom committee or being a cheerleader or band, and get involved with your class, get involved with your community, and really stick to it and maybe find some way to do some leadership opportunities as well, because that looks really good. And it builds a lot of character. And then kind of growing that as you get into college as well is really important. They like to see the longevity of your experiences as well. So it doesn't have to be something that you're, just trying to do to put on your resume. Make it something that you are very passionate about and something that is worthwhile, because they will ask you about it in your interviews or whatever you do. They want to know more about it, and it needs to be something that you genuinely enjoy and like to do. So,
Great. Thanks, Alyssa. Um, and then just one last question before I turn it over to our audience is maybe what is a few, maybe one or two things that is most exciting or unexpected that you learned since starting your veterinary kind of journey?
I feel like the biggest thing is I was not expecting to specialize in what I'm specializing in now or what I'm doing in the future. Um, when I had applied for vet school, I had envisioned myself being a small animal general practitioner. And that is very far away from what I'm going to be doing now. Um, and would have never thought that until I started actually doing vet school and being in the curriculum. And so I think something that's really important is to keep an open mind, um, with not only vet school, but in college as well. There are going to be some things or classes that you may take that are unexpectedly some of your favorites. And it's okay to change your mind about what you thought you wanted. The same way that I had little to no equine experience, so horse experience, going into applying for veterinary school, and I was actually pretty terrified of horses starting school. But then I got on my equine rotation, and I had the best time. I learned that I love working with horses. And if I hadn't kept an open mind about all of it, I would have, not enjoyed the experience and not wanted to do the rotation. But I think it's really important to know that you can change your mind and you can, learn things and see things that you never would have thought you would have been interested in. And that's really all what they want to, that's what it's about, and that's what they want to teach you while you're in veterinary school to get all of it. So.
Thanks, Alyssa. So Megan, I know you've been looking at the chat or the Q&A. Is there any question that stands out that we want to ask Alyssa to address now?
Yeah. Hi, Alyssa. A popular one has been if you can offer some tips for finding shadowing and volunteer opportunities. How did you go about doing that, or any of your classmates? How did they kind of overcome maybe some of the struggles of vet clinics not being willing to accept or finding them?
Yeah. So how I got my foot in the door, I was really lucky. My allied health teacher, my health sciences teacher, was the one that kind of facilitated my meeting with the owner of the veterinary practice that I ended up shadowing at. Um, so, we live in a smaller community, so it was kind of easier that way. But definitely use, your teachers as well, because they want to help you. That's what they're there for. They want to see you succeed. Um, and, that's an easier way to do it. Um, for some of my other shadowing, I tried really, really hard to get into shadowing at the zoo in my hometown, and they would not answer my emails for the life of me. So one day I just decided to go up there. And I went to their office and I was like, "Hi, my name is Melissa Heath, and I want to shadow because I want to be a veterinarian and I'd like some experience." And they were like, "Oh, we're so sorry. We don't check our email frequently, but we really appreciate that you took your time to come visit us. And that shows a lot of initiative. So, we'd love to have you." So it is humbling to put yourself out there like that. But that's kind of what you have to do, to get your foot in the door. Um, yeah, just, use your teachers, be persistent, um, and you'll be able to find a shadowing opportunity for sure.
Thanks, Alyssa. I did see a question in the Q&A from a student. They said they're in grade 10 and they have a huge passion for veterinary medicine. However, they get uneasy with handling animal dissections, such as frog dissections. I know this is something I need in order to perform well in the field. Will it get easier over time?
Um, I think, yeah, I got uneasy during frog dissections too. It's something about the smell of it, just like, was very off-putting. But I think what's gonna really, I don't want to say put you to the test, but I think shadowing is all, like, as I mentioned, a really good opportunity because you're getting to see the good, the bad, the ugly. Try and go into an operating room with a veterinarian. Um, watch them as they're cutting open this animal to do a routine spay or neuter. Um, you'll see blood, you'll see, muscles and tissues, and I think that is, kind of your moment to kind of figure it out then. Um, it does get easier, I will say for me, just because of the repetition of seeing it. But if you're, if it's something that you're like easily queasy by, it's good that you figure it out early on. So I think shadowing as early as you can and asking to see surgery specifically or asking to see blood draws or something like that would be really helpful.
Megan, is there any other themed questions that are being asked?
Yeah, we've had a couple about courses in high school, ones that you recommend students try to take, and also study tips you have for those really difficult ones you talked about.
Courses in high school to take.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, I, oh man, I've had to go back about almost a decade, you guys. Um, so like I mentioned before, we didn't have, the dual enrollment kind of things. I took a good amount of advanced placement courses or AP courses. Um, so I took AP English, I took AP Literature, I took AP US History, I took AP European History. That kind of stopped right there because I AP calculus was definitely not the place for me because I'm not great at math. Um, but those were just classes that I took as APs because I was really interested in. So I think in terms of AP courses or dual enrollment courses, um, really all of that is going to be beneficial to doing an undergraduate degree. Um, I think where your path can kind of differ is when you get into more of your undergraduate or collegiate studies. That's kind of where you get to pick your own path. But I think, a high school diploma in general is gonna give you all the skills that you need to get a bachelor's degree as well.
Great.
Great, thanks. I've got another one for you. How has your view of veterinary medicine changed since your first year of vet school?
Mhm.
Oh wow. Oh man, it has changed so much. There's so much that I didn't know about that I had I thought I knew basically everything that there was when I was coming in. I was like, "Oh, I got this. Like I've worked so hard for this. I studied everything. I did it all." And then I came to learn that there's so many facets of veterinary medicine that I had no idea about. All of the specialty services I had not even considered. Being a teacher versus being a practicing veterinarian versus being a veterinary researcher. There's so many different careers and positions that you can do with veterinary medicine. It's not just um, working in small animal medicine. There's so many things that you can do with the profession, and there's so many things that the profession gives back to other healthcare professions and food safety, all of these things. So that my mind has was definitely opened by coming to vet school and seeing my all of my clinicians and all of my teachers do these really fantastic jobs in fields that I never would have expected. Um, I feel like that was the biggest thing. It just completely opened my eyes to everything that's possible. Um, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
A good one, thank you. So we've got another one that's, how did you cope when an animal you were caring for suddenly passes away or is very sick? So the more the emotional part of your
Yeah.
training, how do you approach that?
Yeah. I will say that it's something that we talk about a lot in professional development courses, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
It's something that they talk about to us in the interview process as well, because it is a big part of our job. Um, so I'd kind of read up on, euthanasias, and the science behind euthanasias, but I've had a lot of cases, especially in some of my rotations this year, that I've had, patients that I pour my heart and soul into, and sometimes they just don't make it. Um, and it is extremely difficult. I won't lie and say that it isn't. And sometimes it never gets easier. But what we do as veterinarians and the oath that we take is to protect animal welfare and well-being, and to prevent animal suffering. And so that is the biggest, undertaking that we have. And so when I have patients that are very sick, I am comforted by the fact that we did absolutely everything in our power to save this patient, any animal. Um, and that's all you can do. And trying to prolong them being sick sometimes can be prolonging their suffering, which is something that we want to avoid. Um, so I won't lie and say that it gets easier, but you do find ways to understand that you are doing the best work that you possibly can. And then, you get to connect with owners this way. It's a really great process, I think. I have met some of the best clients ever, and, we share this kind of grief with each other. And, it's a really comforting process that way.
Thanks. We know that that's genuinely one of the harder parts of this whole profession, and it'll probably be a lifelong learning process for every vet. We've got another question about preparing for residencies. What is the best way for you to prepare for the residency programs or a specialization, since you're now starting the process of that?
Um, so how to um of course, in the same vein as applying for vet school, GPA is always a factor. They like to see kind of the progression of your grades, um, how well you did in each class, and then also the classes that are more catered towards the residency or internship program you're looking into. Um, and it's kind of along the same lines of, where are you involved in that organization? So if you wanted to if you're going for a surgery internship or residency, were you in surgery club? Um, did you interact with a lot of the surgeons at your school? Um, how did you do on your surgery rotation? Were you taking a lot of cases? Did you treat your patients really well? Did you do well in your exams? Did you go back and do an advanced clinical rotation in surgery? How much surgical experience did you get? Were you looking on your externship time? Were you going out to other, specialty practices and seeing surgeries that way? And do you know kind of what you're getting yourself into, for lack of better words? How much do you really understand the specialty that you're going into? What's the pay like? What kind of cases are you looking to do? Do you want to do soft tissue? Do you want to do orthopedics? Um, what are your goals after your residency as well? Are you wanting to stay in academics? Do you want to go to a specialty center? Do you want to do research? So it's kind of in the same vein as applying for vet school, that involvement, that knowledge of what you're doing and what your plans are and what your goals are for the future. And what kind of drive do you have to get to that end goal?
Alyssa, there were a few questions from maybe some of our younger students that are in middle school asking about what they can do to prepare. I don't know if you have any advice for them. I'm happy to share just general comments too, but I'll let you go first, Alyssa.
Well, I would say it's great that you're thinking so early in middle school, because I didn't start doing any shadowing or anything until my sophomore year of high school, because I did not I was going to be a journalist for the longest time. So it's great that you're starting early and getting this exposure. And I would say that I would keep doing what you're doing. Being involved in organizations like HOSA is a great time to get experience and get exposed to all of the different professions in healthcare, and medicine in general. So I think that's already a good start. Keep your curiosity alive. Try and look at everything as much as you possibly can. And don't feel pressured to make a decision right now. Like really take your time to think about the long-term career end goal, and then plan accordingly that way.
And Alyssa, something that I'll add, many of our veterinary colleges actually have programs for either middle school or high school students. And I know Mississippi State has a few opportunities.
Hmm.
So that might be another avenue for you to think about what is local to your area and what is available. Also thinking about opportunities to participate in like career fairs or virtual fairs. So AAVMC is going to be having a in-person fair in April. So that would be an opportunity to talk to the veterinary schools that are in attendance, to talk to Megan and I about preparation. And then we also have a virtual opportunity. So that might be, and I don't know, Alyssa, if you are involved in the Mississippi State programs that they have for students, but I know they have a number of
Yes.
them.
Yes, we do have, it's called Vet Aspire. And basically we have current veterinary students take around a group of middle school or high school students. You get, to tour the school and basically see what it is to be like a vet student for a day. So you go on the clinic floor, you're seeing the procedures that we do. You're getting to, kind of practice what it's like working in an anatomy lab. What is it like, suturing something together, those kinds of things. So it's definitely a great opportunity too.
Okay, I've got an interesting one for you. What is a misconception that you believe most people have about vet school that you would like to correct?
Misconception about vet school. Hmm. People, when I tell them that I'm in vet school or something, they think it's like all puppies and kittens and rainbows. A lot of the time, which a lot of days it is puppies and kittens and rainbows, and it really is, exciting to get to see that new puppy with, its new owner and everything, and get to witness that bond. It is great. Um, there's also going to be the harder days, like I mentioned, we talked about, where you do a lot for your patient and they don't survive, or an older dog that has been in the family for 15 years that they're having to euthanize with you. So you get the good and the bad, and you get them. Sometimes you can get them right next to each other. You can have one owner in one room euthanizing their dog, and then a puppy in the next room. So it's a mixed bag of things that you get to see, but it really is about what you can take from it. Um, and being the best caregiver to each of those patients and those clients. But unfortunately, you don't get to pet puppies all day as much as as much as you want to.
Great question.
Did you have very many opportunities to explore specialties in vet school, like dermatology or cardiology? How does that process work, the exploration process?
Yes. So, like I mentioned in our clinical years, so our third year rotations um, are mostly centered around our animal health center. And so we have typically 4 weeks on each of our specialty rotations. So I took, 4 weeks of small animal surgery. I took 4 weeks of equine medicine and surgery, 4 weeks of food animal medicine and surgery. And then I take 2 weeks of dermatology, 2 weeks of oncology, 2 weeks of ophthalmology. You really rotate around every single specialty department there is, typically in your teaching hospital. So you get exposed to all the specialties that live within the hospital. And if you find something that you really enjoy, the clinician or the course leader over the course would, is happy to have students come back, explore the rotation again and kind of take more of an approach of, maybe this is the career that I want to do. And they'll let you kind of be the leader in some of the cases and make some medical decisions, or um, if you're interested in surgery or something, they'll let you, make some incisions or, figure out some surgical planning. So you get exposed to literally everything under the sun in clinical years.
Great. I think there's definitely a lot of questions around, I think, classes, harder classes, maybe ones that were challenging, or maybe if you want to share, I guess those are kind of the themes in general. Did you find some of the science classes hard, and how did you kind of overcome them to still pursue this stream?
It's not the classes in veterinary school.
Yeah, just science classes in
Yes.
general that I think, yeah, are
Okay. Yeah, there were a lot of really difficult classes in my undergraduate degree and in my veterinary school degree. Um, I'll point out a particular one in my undergraduate degree that a lot of people talk about is organic chemistry. It's kind of brutal for anyone that takes it. Um, and yeah, it's not easy, I will say that. But I persevered in that I had really great teachers that I felt comfortable going to for help. And kind of understanding that it's all a process. This is all kind of, integral to the medicine that we're kind of learning and what we're doing in school now. Um, and while I may not enjoy it or love it or, want to be a chemistry major, I know that this is something that is important to what I want to pursue in the future. And I should put my best foot forward and try and learn as much as I possibly can, whether or not it's my favorite thing in the world. Every class that you take in your undergraduate degree and in veterinary school has something to give you. It is important and integral to your career. So try and go to it with, a positive outlook, and see what you can gain from it rather than being upset that you had to take it.
Megan, do you have other questions that you've highlighted?
Um,
There's one that I think might be good here that I
yeah,
found.
go for it.
Okay. So Alyssa, how do you handle high stress situations or emotional fatigue in your training? Is the work-life balance hard?
This is a big conversation that takes place in the veterinary field. Um, it's, something that we talk about a lot in our first and second years, especially. And I'm putting a plug in for Mississippi State again, but we have our own staff psychologist that is on campus with us. We actually have three of them that are there for, crisis management, mental health support, things like that. And we're able to go visit them and talk with them at any point in time, which is really helpful. In terms of stress, it is a stressful career. You can't get around that. I think it's all about like learning your own methods of coping with stress. Some people or for me personally, like I said, I love to run. Running's a really good stress reliever for me. So physical activity, reading a book or something, taking time for yourself is really important in this field. And, kind of taking a step back to not be so consumed by what you see every day is really helpful. Um, it really was kind of a learning curve for me and just kind of a process that I had to do, and just do it as I went through, and learned that like, hey, I can't pull all-nighters and function the next day. That's not really my thing. I should sleep at night because it makes me feel better. What my classmates do is none of my business. But for me personally, I know
Mhm.
that does not help me. So, it's really just process of elimination at that point. But um yeah, it's definitely a conversation that we have a lot in the field. And you see it even with established veterinarians as well. But I think it is really important that you do take time for yourself to sleep, to relax, to find something that you enjoy, have a hobby outside of veterinary medicine, and be a person, be a person still. So.
Great,
That's great
Alyssa.
advice. Thank you. Yeah, that goes for high school and undergrad
Mhm.
and all of it. Also, just it helps in the application process to have a
Yes.
variety of interests and have them be genuine ones. Be an interesting human, and not just like adding things to your resume. I know that's important. I've got another one about how did you pick the vet school that you went to? What was your criteria for choosing it?
Yes, that's a great question. So I use the AAVMC cost comparison tool back when I checked it religiously when I was looking at veterinary schools. So the cost of veterinary school was a really big deal for me. And it's scary to think about right now and maybe kind of over your head at this point. But I do implore you to think about the financial aspect of becoming a veterinarian. That's another conversation that we have a lot, in the career, is about the amount of debt that we take on and the debt to income ratio that we have at the end of it. Um, so I encourage you to kind of look at that and understand, what the debt looks like, first of all. So I knew that was an important thing for me, thinking about how I was going to pay my debt off. And so I am fortunate enough to have an in-state veterinary school, where in-state tuition is not as much as out-of-state tuition. And so I knew I wanted to apply to my in-state school. I also was looking at programs that were closer to a 2 and 2 curriculum, so 2 years of classroom, 2 years of clinical learning because I wanted as much clinical experience as possible to feel comfortable going and competent to go into the veterinary field after graduation. Another thing that I like to look at was it possible to change my residency state um, after my first year, first semester of school, because then that would lower the cost of school and lower my tuition costs. So I will say the biggest factor for me was finances. Um, but a lot of my class, like several of my classmates or some of my friends that go to different schools, some other things that you can think about, not only just finances, but do they have, a very established department for kind of the medicine that you're interested in? Do they have maybe some like the specialty that you're like possibly thinking about going into? Is this an area that you would like to live in for the next 4 years? Is this a place that you can make your home for the next 4 years? Is it close to your family? Is it far away from your family? Things like that. It's a lot to think about. And I think a part of my advice would be to look at that early if you know that you're going to be applying for vet school, is to, pick and consider your vet schools wisely. Um, Only apply to the ones that you would actually go to if you got in. It's a huge thing. Um, and yeah, I think that's it. But my biggest thing was cost. Um, like I said, I was fortunate enough to have an in-state tuition, in-state school. I was also offered a pretty big scholarship to stay here. So that was another thing for me. But on top of that, I I love it here. I wouldn't change it for the world. Um, it's I don't want to say it's the best one, but you know.
Great. Well, I know we only have a few more minutes before our time, but I just want to do a little quick check-in with the audience. So if you wouldn't mind in the chat, if you wouldn't mind typing in the number that best fits you. One is I already know I want to be a veterinarian. Two, I'm interested but still exploring. Or three, I just love animals and want to learn more. Okay, great. I see lots of ones, twos exploring. This is wonderful. This is why you're here, right? This is why you're attending this type of webinar, why you're involved in HOSA, so that you can explore your options in health professions. So I know we only have like a few more minutes. So I did want to ask Alyssa one last question around just if there's one piece of advice, or if you have more than one, it's okay, but that you would want to share with pre-veterinary students, like what you wish you would have known. What is that piece of advice that you want to share?
Um, I think it would be I talked about this earlier, but starting early is a really great thing. And being self-motivated and doing your own research into the kind of programs that you're interested in and also the requirements. Really give yourself all the options in terms of applying for veterinary school. Think long and hard about, what you value in a program, and if those values align, with that program and with you. Um, I think that's a really big piece of advice in which I, would have known beforehand. And also, I want to say like don't let it consume you as well. Um, really enjoy your high school years, enjoy being in college, go have fun, do all the things that you want to do. Um, Veterinary medicine is is a career, and it can be a really big part of your life, and it's a really big part of your life, but it doesn't have to be your whole life. Um, so go have fun, and don't, beat yourself up over, not an A plus on the test. There are plenty of us, me included, that didn't have straight A's every single semester for every single test. And it's okay. And that's part of being a human, and that's what is going to make you a great veterinarian one day. So go have fun. Enjoy your youth.
Thanks, Alyssa. a great way to kind of end things. But before we wrap up, I want the audience to kind of take a moment to reflect to yourself, about what you heard today. You don't have to share it, with anybody, but just think about, maybe is there one thing that surprised you about veterinary school and kind of what Alyssa shared? Maybe one step that you could take this year to explore a career in veterinary medicine, or maybe one question that you still have about becoming a veterinarian. Maybe it's participating in the HOSA competitive events, right? There's a lot of opportunities for you to explore different health professions, or maybe more specifically, the veterinary science competition, big plug for that. And, or considering maybe volunteering, right? As Alyssa kind of shared, sometimes you just have to show up in person and say, like, I am interested in this field. I'd love an opportunity, and kind of put yourself out there. So on behalf of AAVMC and HOSA, we want to thank you for spending this evening with us. We hope that this session gave you some really insights into, I guess, one path of getting into veterinary school and pursuing this dream, but that you can create your own path and your own journey into this profession. A huge special thank you to Alyssa for sharing her story with us and advice. And thank you to all of you for providing great questions and engagement in this webinar. Remember, as Alyssa said, enjoy your time, but also stay curious, ask questions. Don't be afraid to explore your interests, and we're excited to see where your journey takes you. And have a great rest of your evening. And thank you all so much for attending.